well, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, as you guys can see, we're on Over the Cap to take a look at the salary cap calculator for our Detroit Lions. And we're going to try to get a rough estimate of where the Detroit Lions may be financially. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do we do videos like this? Well, we do videos like this just for those out there that kind of want to get a good feel on where the Lions may be at financially after the craziness that has started to happen in free agency. You know, trades, signings, players leaving, players coming. All of that, has been going on. And at this point, we all just have the same question. What the heck? How much money do we have? Do we have money for the draft? Do we have money to sign this guy, that guy, trade for this guy? Well, today we're going to try to get a pretty good estimate of where the Lions may be at financially. But again, keep in mind this will not be the exact amount because there are still things coming in, still contracts that we're trying to figure out. Plus, these salary cap calculators can be a little off. I think I've noticed why Over the Cap and Spot Track are a little bit different. Obviously, there's some things that they don't have set up. Spot Track seems to be more updated, but they're missing a lot more contracts. You look at Over the Cap, they seem more to the detail, like to the dot of what a salary, maybe for the season, like what their cap it be, maybe. Spot Track is a little bit more estimates. So I think that's why their numbers are a little bit off at times. But we're going to use Over the Cap because I think they're very, pinpoint accurate with a lot of their contracts, but they can be a little bit behind, so we just update it for them. However, the Lions have been making a lot of moves recently, and they actually have a pretty good amount of them on here. So we're going to kind of take a look at the main moves, and then we'll go through where the Lions may be at financially. Now, I know you'll look at other places, and you'll see 15 million, 12 million, negatives. You'll see all these weird numbers. Well, you got to make sure that when you look at those numbers, how up to date are they? Are they using deals that are finalized? Because there's a lot of things that aren't all the way in yet. We don't know what the cap hits are. And just because a guy gets, say, a 3 years, $24 million deal doesn't mean his cap hit is $8 million this season. And we're going to see that with the guy that we signed. So let's actually just start off with that first. We know about some of the other things, like we talked about the Jamal Williams contract. We talked about the restructure with Jamie Collins in the last time we did this. But let's start off with one of our new additions, and this is Michael Brockers. I'll actually click on his contract here. So Michael Brockers was given this deal after he came back from vacation. The Lions traded for him, and the Lions said, hey, let's give this guy a deal. So they signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal. So they give him a pretty nice contract, right? Now, what's interesting about how this contract is set up is the cap number. All right, Mike Disner pulled out a little bit more magic out of his hat. And let's take a look what that magic is. Well, that magic, as you guys can see, is the cap number. Look at 2021's cap number, $3.05 million. And this guy's on a 3-year, $24 million deal. That's his cap it. It's not $8 million, it's just over $3 million. So Lions save roughly $5 million this season, put some in the back end, and save roughly $5 million. Now, they only gave him 11 of that guaranteed, which is pretty nice to give less than 50% guaranteed to a player of his caliber that the Lions do like. Now, the next thing you could look at here is the dead money. You can see where the dead money is at. Getting rid of him after this season, probably ain't gonna, before the season, probably ain't going to happen. Next season, probably not going to happen. Unless you really have to, you probably don't want to. But 2023, clearly as of now, as you can see, there is no guaranteed salary either. But instead of it being $8 million this season, because of how they worked the new contract with him, to their cap number, it's only $3.05 million. So that's awesome. All right, so that's the first thing I want to touch on. Over the Cap has it updated, which is great. I don't know what the heck I just did right there. We'll scroll down a little bit more. You can see Jamal Williams. We know he's a $3 million. That was way lower than what we initially projected. Charles Harris, the edge rusher. We're going to do a video on him probably tomorrow. But Charles Harris, you can see his cap number here is $1.75 million. Now, he's only on a 1-year deal, I believe. I think he's only on that 1-year deal. But his cap, 1-year deal, cap it $1.75 million. Okay, so it's kind of a prove-it deal at 26 years old, a former first-round pick right behind Jarrad Davis in the 2017 draft. I like it. It's not that expensive. Could give us a nice pass rush. Like I said, we'll do a video, and we'll learn a little bit more about him tomorrow. Then you have Randy Bullock. Right, Randy Bullock right after him, the kicker that we signed. Randy Bullock came in here, and you can see his cap hit, 1-year deal, $1.687 million. To me, this is one of those signings where it's kind of like, okay, we have Matthew Wright on this future contract. He could be the future, but this is kind of like, okay, this is kind of like a reliable safety blanket if maybe he doesn't impress you in camp or something. And if he doesn't necessarily impress you or you love him or something, then you can rock with Randy Bullock. Now, if he does win that battle out and you want to go with a guy like Matthew Wright, there's going to be a little bit of dead money. $750K, but it's not, it's not like bank breaking, and you could definitely do it. But, for now, at least it's the safety blanket for someone to compete with. It's always good to have competition. Punting, position, how well that actually worked out. Then you have another recent addition. This is Jamal Williams. Now, Jamal Williams signed to a 2-year deal, and again, look how Mike Disner worked his magic. Jamal Williams signed to a 2-year, $6 million deal? I think that's what the final latest was, because again, we talk about when it broke, it was like $7.5 million. Now it's $6 million. It's just, you don't know the exact amounts when they first come out. They're a little off. But as you can see from the cap number, next season it's $4.375 million. However, this season it's only $1.6 million. So only 1.6. Oops, I didn't mean to click the ad. Only $1.6 million towards the cap for Jamal Williams. This season, that's it. I mean, that's a beautiful deal for the Detroit Lions. Again, probably not going to come before the season, but you could next year. I mean, there's still potential out. Yes, his money does go up. But what's supposed to also go up, because the NFL's got a new TV deal, is that salary cap, and it should fly way back up. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal next season. That's the hope, is you kind of have more of a cap in the years after. There's still outs that they've left available, so they can go different direction, like Michael Brockers in the third year, things like that. But the money's supposed to go up, so you don't spend as much this season. So you can see just some of the interesting things that they have pulled off with how they have set up their contracts, and I think it's awesome. We also have Josh Hill on here, the tight end who we brought in. Josh Hill signed to a 1 year, as you can see the deal here. Only $987,000 towards his cap number this season. Again, that's not very expensive whatsoever. I think those are all the new moves that we made. That's all the new moves that we made. Now, there are still cuts that are possible. You can see the top 51 cutoff, which is an offseason thing. Top 51 cutoff, top 51 contracts count towards the salary cap in the offseason. You start adding these up, it's like 1 million, 2 million, it starts to add up. However, there can still be cuts that could be made, and I expect some cuts still to be made. There'll be more cuts that it could come soon. Like, for example, I think Nick Ball didn't say a favorite, but there's a good possibility that he could definitely be cut. $780K, my fault, all right? $780K, not a ton, but it's solid, and we already have Jason Cabin. That could be an obvious cut for the Detroit Lions. So there's certain things that they can still do to clear a little bit more cap. So what does that mean? Where are the Lions at financially? Well, as you can see, the cap room on here says $7.6 million. However, that's not exactly correct, because this guy is the problem. Brashad Perriman, come on, man. Brashad Perriman signed to a 1 year, $3 million deal. At least that's what we heard. That's what we were told when the Lions signed this guy. Now, the Lions, they could do some interesting stuff with this contract. We don't know a roster bonus. We don't know the workout bonus. We don't know the guarantees. We don't know the cap hit. The Lions could set it up structurally. Mike Disner could do some magic and not necessarily spend $3 million this season. But that's all we know right now, is that it's 1 year, $3 million. That's all we know. That's all that we were told. Let me make sure I have enough zeros in here, because I will mess this up. 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. Okay, I'm sorry. I just got to make sure, right? So we give him that on here, and it bumps the cap room to $7.6 million instead of just under $10 million. But that might not be exactly right. So this is a number that, could easily fluctuate. Couple $1 million for sure, because his cap number may not be $3 million for this season, but that's just what we know, is we heard 1 million, 1 year, $3 million. So that could definitely change, and we've seen that with other deals that have been done. But honestly, over the cap is pretty updated to this point. I mean, they have everything else pretty much updated. I looked at, you look at Spot Track and their numbers a little bit different. But like I said, like for example, if you look at the Jayshon Cornell contract on Spot Track, it's different than on Over the Cap. There's a couple things they have differently. Also, they didn't do the cutoff, right? As we do go through this, I want to give you guys a little update on the Jared Goff trade. So as we know, we traded for Jared Goff, and, they put the whole Michael Brockers trade into that. So we gave up, the 7th for 2023. We got Michael Brockers, and also the Rams took on the roster bonus for the season. So if you check out Over the Cap, you'll see that Jared Goff has a $0 roster bonus for the season. So I think it essentially saved the Lions like $2.5 million, which was nice. In exchange, the Detroit Lions aren't getting the, 88th pick in this year's draft from the Rams. Instead, they are getting their end of third round comp pick. So it's a little bit later, probably about 15 picks later, but still it saves you a little bit of money. So another thing that Mike Disner has done, there's a lot of ways to make the salary caps work, but the Lions will have a little bit of later pick in the draft. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your mocks. You ask, okay, where the Lions at financially? I'd say roughly anywhere, if you want to have a nice spectrum, between $7 million and $12 million. I'd say anywhere in that range the Lions could be sitting. If you want to kind of narrow it a little more, maybe anywhere between 7 and, to stay on the safe side, 10 million, maybe towards to 11. Because again, some of those things that say 11 million, things like that, they didn't count the Brashad Perriman deal. They didn't maybe count necessarily the Charles Harris deal. There's things that they haven't updated in there. And because of some of the magic they pulled off with Michael Brockers' contract, some of the magical things that Mike Disner has been able to do. I know there's something else that he did. Oh, the Charles Harris one. But because of that, we saved us a lot of money this season. So it's not a bad salary cap spot, but it doesn't leave tons of money. Let's say we're at, 7 to 9 million. Well, about 7, to $8 million is going to go towards the draft and signing your drafted players, even if you don't add more picks, roughly, right? 7 to 8 million. So it's not a ton of money to spend, But again, with the way that you can set up contracts, the way that you can put money off, the way the Lions have done this, depending on how much Perriman gets this season, and if the Lions make any more cuts, because there could still be cuts to happen, players could still get restructured, especially if they restructure Goff. I still don't think that's going to, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen though at this point, but there's still things that they can do to save money. You can restructure, there's still players you can cut. I think Nick Bawden is a very, very possible cut that they could absolutely make, knowing that they have Jason Kabinda for next season, and they really don't need 2 fullbacks. They could cut Kabinda and run with Bawden, so I guess they could do that route if they wanted to. Definitely could see when those guys get cut. You know, guys can still get cut, restructures can still happen, guys could be traded away, that could save you money. So I think there's tweaks that they can make. We'll see what the Perriman contract comes out to, and I'm sure there's things that we'll learn about and things will change over time. But for the Detroit Lions, not a ton of money to go spend in free agency, because you got to remember you need it for the draft and you need some money for during the season. But there are maybe some minor moves that they can make, and I'm really hoping that it's one of those vet safeties like Casey. That would be beautiful. So let me know your thoughts, comments below, man. If this, helped you at all. Again, these are all estimates, so to keep that in mind. But I did want to give you guys this update. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.